prevention session. We're really glad to see you here. Our panel is still kind of coming together. We have a panelist here to join us a little bit later. She is over the top involved in our community, and so we'll just take her whenever we can get her. She's a great friend to local trafficking prevention efforts, so we'll introduce her when she gets here. And so this is the prevention session, just to make sure everybody's in the right place. And my name is Stephanie Bird. I'm the Executive Director of Unbound Forward. I'll be moderating the panel today and also participating in the panel. And we want this to be an informal, interactive, conversational style. We would like to know what you all would like to know. So we'll start with introductions, and then I have a few prepared questions just to make sure we cover some coded areas, and then we'll open it up for questions. That said, we would love it if, as we're going along, if you have questions, please go ahead and let us know. We'll take those as we go along. We are all very passionate about prevention education, and we hope that by the end of the session, you don't just feel for why. We're so committed to this work, and we also hope you leave encouraged about the work that is being done at a national level, and then also here locally. We'll get to hear about both. So why don't we go ahead with introductions? Ashley, would you like to introduce yourself, the organization you're with, how you came to be involved in prevention education?
Yeah, you bet. So my name is Ashley Bryant, and I'm the CEO and co-founder of Three Strands Global Foundation. We focus in on prevention. We do that through prevention education. We're actually working in 34 of the 58 counties in California, the state of Utah, and then a lot of work in Washington at the federal level as to what should prevention look like in the United States as it relates to human trafficking. The whole reason I got involved in this in 2008, my good friend's daughter was hanging out with about 30 students, 17-year-olds, in a parking lot in a sleepy suburb of Sacramento. And unbeknownst to them, a trafficker who befriended the group of kids and was trying to figure out who was most vulnerable in the crowd. He hung out with them for hours and hours, probably about 7 or 8 hours total, but zeroed in on my friend's daughter. He actually offered to take the whole group of them home in his Hummer, and they all went home one by one, but she was the last one, and he passed by her house. Told her he had other plans for her, while pointing a gun at her, and then he sold her on Craigslist. He actually raped her at his parents' house where he was living at the time, and then she was sold to a violent trafficker in the Bay Area. So he trafficked her for 15 to 20 times a day before she was recovered by law enforcement and the county sheriff where we actually resided. And it was, for us in 2008, it was really an eye-opening of we knew globally about human trafficking. Actually, had spent some time overseas where we had witnessed a trafficking incident actually occurring, but in the United States, this was something that was really not something we were really aware of. So we began a nonprofit to raise the level of awareness about human trafficking, and prevention was one of the very first places that we started doing our work. And we used to go into the schools. That's actually how we began, and actually educating 9th grade students. After doing that up and down the state of California, we were asked by the Attorney General to create a systematic, scalable prevention education program for the state. And so that's called PROTECT, which we'll be talking about a little bit as we go. But the PROTECT program is prevention organized to educate children on trafficking. It includes really 4 components. First is protocol. Second is training of teachers and classified staff. Then a curriculum of teachers who are trained in deliver that in their classroom. And then lastly is data. So those are 4 components of our PROTECT program. After the PROTECT program launched, we have been working also with survivors and at-risk youth population, and really figuring out that we need to find sustainable jobs for them. So Three Strands, not only from a prevention model and umbrella, looks at upstream, how do we go upstream and prevent this from happening in the first place? How do we empower our youth so that they're upstanders and not bystanders? How do we foundationally help them understand their value and their worth and that inner watchdog that's inside of them to trust? But we also, on the other side, are actually placing survivors and at-risk youth into jobs. So that is actually a lot of what frames our prevention work. Is we have hundreds of survivors and at-risk youth that we've served in this capacity to place into jobs. So Three Strands as the umbrella is prevention in that space, education, as well as what we call reintegration. So they have sustainable income and can thrive and dream the dreams they want to dream and be who they want to be. And with the work of our social workers, being able to do that. So that's Three Strands. The reason I got involved in this work, and I've been doing it for the last 10 years. And I'm happy as we go along to answer any and all questions about the prevention education program, but that's who I am and who we are.
Thank you, Ashley. Toby, we're just going through and introducing ourselves, and I'll let everyone know that you are over the top involved in our community, and we're just glad to have you when we can get you, and that you're a great friend of local trafficking prevention efforts. So if you don't mind just introducing yourself a little bit, the organizations you're involved in, and how you got involved in trafficking prevention.
I'm Toby Jackson. I'm honored to serve 85,000 students and 12,000 employees as the president of the Fort Worth ISD Board of Trustees. My single-member district is in East Fort Worth, and it's District 2. Fort Worth ISD is 209 square miles of the 349 square miles that are Fort Worth. There are 14 school districts. Within Tarrant County is 903 square miles. There were 19 school districts. So we are one of many. My other job, my day job, is SPARC, S-P-A-R-C, which is out of school time. So I'm basically all kids all the time. And if you meet my children, they will tell you they are 84,999 and 85,000 when it comes to ISD. That's not really true, but that's what they believe. My involvement in human trafficking started years back when I ran an adult education center, and I won't go into all the details, but I learned very quickly from the Traffic 911 individual, Dina Graves, about human trafficking and the impact it was having adversely on our community. That was, I believe, in 2009 to 10. And so it just seems to come back up, and then we have to go down and stop, but at least awareness helps, and so I'm always happy to come out and speak on awareness.
Hi everyone, I'm Caroline Jones. I'm a senior student here at TCU, and my role is I serve as the president of the International Justice Mission at TCU. It's an on-campus organization that's affiliated with BIG IJM, and our role on campus is really trying to enact students to learn about the issue, to learn about ways to get involved, to partner with different local nonprofits, to tell their families about it, to tell their networks about it, and really focusing in on this way that we have this entire population on campus that's just waiting to get involved. It's just waiting to hear about something, and it is an absolute honor and privilege to be able to serve in that way. And my story and involvement started in February 2016. I attended the NETS purchase training, and that was the first time that I had heard about the issue of human trafficking. And then from there, it was this feeling of what can I do and how can I get involved? And I met Dr. Vanessa Boucher. She quickly put me to work, and it has been really exciting to see the way that this campus has responded to learning more and wanting to learn more. If you've been on campus today, you may have noticed that there's some red sand filling the cracks, and that is because today is End of Movement Day. So also I have my red X, and some of y'all may have this as well. So we're trying to wake up the entire campus. We poured red sand into the cracks of the concrete and have these signs out that say the red sand stands for the millions of human trafficking victims that fall through the cracks. So kind of another way that we just want TCU students to ask questions, to try to get involved, to think about these really big problems before they leave. And I'm excited to talk a little bit more about what we do on campus.
As I mentioned earlier, I'm Stephanie Laird. I'm Executive Director of Unbound Fort Worth. Unbound is an anti-trafficking organization. We do youth prevention, trainings for medical and education professionals, and survivor advocacy. So our survivor advocacy program has been endorsed by the Governor's Child Sex Trafficking Team to provide advocates for youth and minors rescued from sex trafficking here in Tarrant County. We have served 32 youth and minors since June 1st of 2018, so it's shelter, they follow along as long as it takes to get them settled into a place where they're safe for the night. And then we're back again the next morning to provide that continuity of care. And we follow along as long as they're benefiting from services, we'll continue to serve them. Yesterday, one of our advocates was with a survivor while she testified against her trafficker in a federal grand jury. Other things we commonly do are travel with survivors to help them get settled in long-term aftercare homes, and that could be anywhere really. A lot of times it's good for them to get out of the immediate area. We see the impact of the trauma on these kids firsthand, so you can imagine how motivated we are to keep this from happening to any more kids. That is the driver behind our prevention program. I did want to share, there was a survey that came out about a year ago, January of 2018, by Thorn. It's an international anti-trafficking organization started by Ashton Kutcher. You may be aware of it. Dr. Boucher was involved in this survey. They talked to 250 domestic minor sex trafficking survivors and asked them questions. A key finding that came out of all this is that these kids went to school when they were being trafficked, at least initially. They identified teachers as the person most likely to be able to help them. They said that they would have accepted help getting out of the life, help getting basic needs met, shelter, clothing, food, medical needs, counseling. So this was a real wake-up call to us, and it fits our experience. The kids we're serving were students right here in our schools. So we are highly motivated to get in there, get to know these kids, and make sure they know how to stay safe, to empower them to stay safe from trafficking and exploitation, and to let them know that help is available if they're in a situation where they need that. Back to you. Okay, I think we'll launch into a few prepared questions, and Ashley, if it's okay, we'll start with you. Why prevention? I mean, we've touched on that a little bit already, but do you mind expanding on that?
Yeah, sure. So I had an opportunity 2 years back to spend 2 years, in the 10 years I've been doing this work, a lot of it is framed by survivor leaders, and that's a really important component of everything we do. In California, I actually sit on the state board along with the survivor leaders who've been appointed to be able to frame what are we doing at the state level, and so that's a huge piece of the work in prevention, right, is that survivor-led, and that their voices really frame what we do in this place of prevention. The other component, which sometimes is one of those hard things to talk about, but I think is really important, is I spent 2 years interviewing 47 inmates at San Quentin Prison. And those 47, 46 had been trafficked and are involved in trafficking. 46 were in for murder, and 1 was in for a high-profile cocaine pandering case. So as we look at prevention, we need to be able to look at how do we reduce the number of victims, how do we reduce the number of traffickers, how to reduce the number of buyers. Because really, that's the piece from the sex trafficking piece. The other component is from the labor trafficking piece, that we not lose scope of the fact that this is not only CSEC, commercially sexually exploited children, but also that there's forced labor as well. And that's a really important piece. I think when you take the parts of trafficker and survivor as well as communities, what we really are about in prevention is building trafficking-free communities, right? So how do we do that? And what does that look like? As we build at the state levels, all of our states, it is making sure that our state stakeholders are all on the same page, right? We have lots of systems in our government, whether that's child welfare and education and health and human services and law enforcement, but that there are bridges between those. And prevention really is starting at the top, but it's also from the bottom up. So it's from the bottom up with our students to our teachers to our classified staff and superintendents, administrators, but it's also the top down. It's from the state stakeholders and making sure that everybody, as we meet in the middle, are on common ground as we go, right? That we're all on the same page. But I think that prevention allows us, when we communicate well, to actually have great systems of care and continuum of care. And even, we all are different, unique, and our states are different and have unique cultures, but if we decide on focusing on the common ground of the child, then we'll all work out along the way what is the very best in our places that we, whether it's a city or a state or it's a whole nation. So I think that prevention allows us to take a step back and look at solutions. I love that when we get to talk about prevention, it's all about solutions, right? It is, okay, so there's this problem that is really heinous and super dark and awful, but what is it that we're going to do? And prevention allows us to work in the hope space. That's what we talk about. It allows us to figure out how we collectively and collaboratively work together to actually stop it and go upstream and stop it. So, I mean, if we think about for a second, and you guys can sort of think, what in our nation or in Texas has been a prevention push that has been successful? Now, off the top of my head, Stephanie and I were talking about this morning. You think about the litter campaign in the 70s and the 80s, right? And the success of, you know, our nation is important not to throw paper out into litter everywhere, and smoking, right? And with the smoking ads. So we can do it. Prevention is not the thing that's funded first. It's not federally or in states usually. Restoration and or how do we meet survivors where they're at, which is so important. But thank goodness. Woo! It worked. Okay. Here we go. Okay, Allison, you are awesome. Okay. So this is the Protect system. So when a teacher logs in, this is the journey to protect. So this is the social media piece of what I talked about, teachers being able to connect with each other. So if you look and we click on this is in mandated reporting. I had to report abuse and neglect in the past. It's not a pleasant experience, but a very important one. I know that making the first phone call and filing out the report helps kids and often gets them to the way they need, adding them to the list of abuses and training about everyone, the danger, prevalence. It's an efficient way to help even more victims. And then teachers can comment and support each other through the system, and then they also can just like, you know, the actual post, and so that teacher, Sarah T, knows that, you know, and can reply to any of those people too. So this is that sort of social area where they can communicate with each other. This one I love actually, and here's the reason why. Because this shows exactly what's happening, right? It's okay to be nervous. It's okay to think that this is overwhelming. Katrina, teacher, honestly a little nervous. And this is after she's just gone through 101, so she hasn't been through 102 if I remember correctly. But prior to this training, I knew very little, if at all, anything about human trafficking. I didn't know it came in many forms, happened in many places. To your point earlier, right, this is a teacher who's been teaching a long time. It can happen here in my own school. She's a 9th grade teacher. I love the one, I thought the lessons that they should be taught are politics, sex ed, public speaking, and not until 101 in the video did it cross her mind that human trafficking might be just as important, if not more important, to put on the minds of my students, right? So, and then, you know, all of these other teachers able to say, you know, I used to think human trafficking only occurred in big cities, now I'm hearing incidents that happened in other places. Right? All of these teachers are able to communicate with that teacher. So just being able to give them a place where they can be real with each other and not be overwhelmed by, you know, and they may be overwhelmed, but just voice it. So this is where, this is the library. So the training is the Journey to Protect, which are those 3 modules I talked about. Human Trafficking 101, 102, and 103. So 101 is Intro to Trafficking, 2 is Complex Trauma and the Impacts of CSEC, and then 3 are Protocols. I'll go here because I think this is really powerful to be able to actually show you. So if I'm a teacher and I am in San Diego County and I want to know, because I have a student in front of me, what my protocol is in San Diego, then I'm going to go down here and these are all the protocols that are final. Then I'm going to go to San Diego and my protocol is going to come up. And I'm going to know exactly what it is that my district has for risk factors criteria 1, risk factors criteria 2, recommended protocol, suspected recruitment, suspected victim, confirmed victim, right? So I'm going to have that accessible for my teachers so that I don't want to get lost. If I'm a small, like I was talking about Mono County, right? Small little county. You know, we have added, or actually asked districts and counties if they want to add these 3 pages. So these 3 pages are the 4 protocols. What's human trafficking, just to remind them that if the victim is a minor, use of force, fraud, or coercion doesn't have to be proven, but that it's important to know what the definition of human trafficking entails. what are the identified risk factors? If I suspect it as a mandated reporter, what's my responsibility? What's my role, right? And understanding trauma, what's complex trauma, what is trauma-informed care. I suspect a student is experiencing this. How do I engage with them? What are some of the things I should do? At risk for CSEC in the state of California, that's actually the welfare law. So what is it that I'm required to do as a mandated reporter? What are those steps? And then we get to Mono's actual protocol. So then they have their protocol in here. Those 3 pages preceded it, and then the actual protocol is here. So step 1, it looks different than San Diego because Mono is not San Diego, right? But they have 7 steps. And then if you want to even get to a more rural county, which Sweet Butte County is really, really small, the superintendent and the Health and Human Services told me, hey Ashley, I can walk across the hall and get to whoever I need to get to. So step 1, 2, 3, 4. In a nutshell, there's a smaller rural county, right? So anyway, that's how a teacher can access those if they need it. And then I'll go and show you here back. What? There we go. So if let's say I'm a 5th grade teacher, right, and I want to go into Safe People, Safe Places, Safe Choices, then I can go here into my little section. I can actually see the teacher training. So here's what we did. Again, the CDE was so good. Literally, if the AG's office would say, oh, but we need to add all this stuff about laws, and the Department of Education would say, it's not the role of a teacher. And the social services would pipe in, but we need to add all of this. No, it's not the role of a teacher. And so we teach the 5th grade in this video. We actually are teaching it so teachers can watch. We have all these activities that they can print, parent letters in Spanish and English. And then we have the curriculum guide, as well as all the slides for them to be able to go through. So they can actually go through this guide and Safe People, Safe Choices, 5 days, 30-minute sessions. And it goes through why did we do this. I love this slide. This is my most favorite. So inner voice, we want them to hear it in elementary school, value it in middle school, trust it in high school, and mobilize it in high school. We want them to be safe, valued, informed, and modern-day abolitionists. Then there's a preparation for the teachers, and then we get into session 1, blue. And we're actually changing this because not all schools have color, which we actually have learned. So we're going to put that in italics. But blue is from our survivor leaders. So that is our survivor leaders giving the teacher a little bit of extra information. And then the teacher portion is this is what you can say when you're looking at that slide. And then there's a pre-survey, which is how we get our data. And then what's the value of a human versus a robot, right? All of these things that they can go through really simply to be able to infuse this into their classroom. So one of the things that I love about the middle school one, if I got to my PowerPoint, I could show you, but is I told you that we've been able to see quite a bit of abuse and neglect that is coming through this masterpiece of art. So there's a worksheet in the middle school version where they actually, remember I told you that they could draw themselves as a work of a masterpiece. And so you'll see this frame will come up. So this is the frame and they draw themselves. So that's one of the activities, and we've seen amazing things come from that activity. So anyway, I just thought this would be easier for you guys to understand what it is that we've built and what we've done, because it is, and we've been doing this work, like I said, since 2010, but it wasn't until 2015 when we met with the Attorney General that they asked us to do this so that we could get it scaled through California as much as we possibly can, and now other states as well. So, any questions? I mean, I want to.
That's fantastic. I'm so glad that you were able to get that up. And it's very encouraging to see how well developed that is. There gives us some vision for what could develop here. So thank you. What questions do you all have?
I don't have a question, but just an experiential comment. We have had a replicating different survivor in our family for 18 years. So we
we've had the opportunity to speak to as young as first graders about what is slavery, what does that mean, what was the history of it, and what is it look like now, as well as combining some social studies with a PowerPoint of where is Zambia, what does it look like where I grew up, different from the way you look, the way you are now, and trying to understand what does the word slave mean. And in one little second grade class, this child held up their hand and they said, "So my mama makes me take out the trash, am I a slave?" Those who do that called chores in the family, but just a very, very young perspective, not using the word human trafficking with under 30 days. We certainly did in middle school, right before, but I am just so impressed with all of this, because we didn't have access to any of this when we were doing speaking and laying the ground. This is fantastic.
Well, what we have done is we started our typical program this was done down at William James. And Stephanie, can you talk about where you are now? Because that was the first step in, which was huge for us.
That was our pilot. It's always nice to start with a pilot and then grow and develop from there. But the principal was on board. The counselor, everyone welcomed us in. The teachers were very accommodating, and the coaches. And we talked to the parents first. Well, maybe it was the faculty first. The faculty trained first, and then the parents, and then the kids. We really wanted to involve the whole school community because we feel like if everyone's aware, we didn't want to just educate the kids. And then they go to talk to their parents or teacher and they're looking at like, what are you talking about? You didn't want to have that experience. So I think it was a great model. And now we're expanding out from there. And we just adapt to the different schools' needs. So the faculty meet at 7 in the morning, we can come out then or we can come out at lunch. It just depends, we adapt to the class schedule, the bell schedule, all that to make it work in schools. But we feel that the schools are very receptive. The teachers have been very encouraging and they're just really beneficial. So we're thankful.
Fort Worth ISD is very open. There is nothing formal. But again, there's not a formal mandate at this type of stage, and you have limited resources and limited time. But they've been very open, and I haven't ever had anyone say no. We're not going to do this. But I would like for it to be a good.
When you graduate, are you going to be doing work in this field?
I would like to go into this field. I'm graduating in May and I don't quite know. I've never been into defense. But I would like to.
Stephanie, undoubtedly outstanding work, and I can understand the magnitude of what those folks do as far as educating the entire school district. Do y'all have a train-the-trainer program component built into it?
We do in a sense. It's not a formal, it's developed as they talk about working with teachers to train them to do it for their classroom. But we have a number of, we can't do it with just staff. We have to, we build a hire enough people. So we have volunteers who train with us, and then we send teams out and a staff member and volunteers. So in that sense, there's a bit of a training aspect. But as things develop, we're open to doing whatever we can do as outcomes, especially to get teachers and parents. We also have whether that's principals, teachers, nurses, social workers, also communities and schools have been fantastic to work with. workers in schools, and they know the kids. So they're a great point of contact for us when we go into schools, because they're there after we leave, and the kids already have trust people talk to them, so that's another issue point of contact.
Back to the back, I wait. I know, I'm hiding back here. This may have been addressed, I apologize, I came in late. The woman from California. So what, comments do you have from parents as part of that program? How does that work? This is great, by the way, I absolutely have it. But is there a piece that then goes to the parents? Stephanie, you mentioned, parents, at least the experience that I've had going to schools, it's hard to get parents to come to a program. Usually the numbers are very small compared to the number of kids.
My phone is away.
Yeah, so we have HT 104, so it's a platform for and that's the version, there's our version or a unit version, and it is actually sold to districts, and then they, based on ADA, so average daily attendance, and then they are able to give that to their parents, and then after evening or parent night or whatever you want to call it. So that module exists in Protect modules.
If somebody wants to get a copy of that, would you give a little on the website?
No, we sell that directly to the school districts, and because it's part of what Toby referenced is the mandate or engagement for parents. It's part of we were asked by 5 of our districts, and our counties, one of our counties, 5 of our districts, to do a parent module. So we did it specifically for them to use for parent engagement. So it is for the teachers on that parent night to be able to deliver to, or whoever it is, if it's an administrator, principal, to the parents themselves.
So that's just catered more to California. I mean, if somebody from like the state of Texas wants to be a part of that.
Yeah, we can talk about it later because it's going to Utah too. So both Utah and California are both going to have that module and access to that.